Hello everyone, let us enjoy the fourth day of our motorcycle tour through Scotland together in this video. At the end of May 2025 we rode our GS from Oban to Inverness and got very wet. Nevertheless, it was a great ride. You can find the GPX tracks in the description below. But now, let's get started. Our day's journey begins in Oban on the west coast of Scotland and takes us past a landmark from a James Bond film and the famous Loch Ness to Inverness, where the North Coast 500 begins. As usual, we start the day by loading up the motorbike. However, as our hotel is picturesquely located right by the harbour, we take advantage of the early hour to take a quick look around the harbour. Oban is located in a small bay on the west coast of Scotland and has less than 10,000 inhabitants. The ferry port connects the mainland with the inner and outer Hebrides. Today we see lots of sailing boats in the sheltered bay, but ferries also dock next to the railway station in the town centre. Even cruise ships visit the town, with tourists being brought ashore in tender boats. The typical English breakfast with fatty foods is largely outdated. Even if there is still a passion for béarnaise sauce, we'll leave that out next time. We have learned from the past few days, weather apps are even less reliable here than in Germany. They say that Scotland has 4 seasons in one day. Yesterday was mostly wet, so we are starting today with our rain gear on. We will soon see whether that was a wise decision. The former small fishing village of Oban has now taken on an urban character with its Victorian architecture. Instead of large supermarkets, the town centre is home to small grocery stores, cafes and restaurants. In Germany, Oban, meaning small bay, is best known for the whiskey distillery of the same name, which was built in 1794. Although the distillery belongs to the Diageo Spirits Group, it is one of the smallest whiskey distilleries in Scotland. Every year, over 150,000 people visit the distillery. 3 standard bottlings are available whose taste can be described as delicately peaty and smoky with fruit and a hint of salt. Unfortunately, we left Oban before opening hours, but we have linked a short tour of the distillery above. It is interesting to note that the outskirts just beyond Oban resemble any other German suburb. Passing the small village of Glen Coe, we are struck by the native Scots pines and lush green meadows. The lawn is neatly cut, as this is where the local golf club is located. The Scots are crazy about golf. The sport was first mentioned in Scotland in the late Middle Ages, and modern golf was first developed and established in Scotland. The earliest mention of golf is the purchase of a set of golf clubs by James IV in 1502. Large sections of the population play the game themselves, and there are many public courses. We glide leisurely through the rolling hills near Glen Leven, and oops, we seem to have missed a turn. Since there is not a soul on the road, we take a shortcut to get back on the right track. We continue to follow the single-lane Glen Leven road, which connects Oban and Tynwald. It is also known as the Road of Kings because it was the ancient burial road of the Scottish kings to their final resting place. Nowadays, it is more likely to encounter cattle than kings on this road. And of course, there are sheep hiding by the side of the road again. The shearer must have lost interest in his work at some point with this ram. And now we get to know the Scottish Highland cattle, who are not fazed by our presence. Only an oncoming car makes enough of an impression on them to clear the way. Otherwise, we would have had little choice but to wait. Highland cattle are known for their long, shaggy coats and distinctive horns. Speaking of animals, ducks and their ducklings are also welcome here. The cute warning sign stands in front of Delmally Bridge, which was built in 1781 for the transport of livestock and troops. Of course, this bridge is also a listed building. The Delmally Bridge we have just passed spans over the river Orchy. We now continue north along its banks towards the source of the river. The river Orchy is a popular fishing spot. Salmon and trout are the main catches. Numerous sections of the river are used for rafting, although the opportunities for pursuing this sport on the river depend heavily on the fluctuating water levels of the Orchy. In summer, the river Orchy often has too little water to allow rafting. During the particularly rainy winter month, on the other hand, the current is often too strong. In any case, it is a tourist hotspot, as you can soon see from all the vehicles. In Scotland, a large car park often indicates a place of interest. Hidden on the left-hand side, the Glen Orchy Waterfalls suddenly appear between the bushes. The waterfalls are not notable for their height, but for their attractive rock formations which have been shaped by the flow of the water. On this beautiful route we also encounter other GS riders, whom we greet warmly in English. They respond just as warmly in German. The three of them also want to explore Scotland but prefer to go on day trips. Less weight on the GS definitely increases the riding pleasure. As we continue on our way, we are greeted by the first large mountains. We drive towards Bridge of Orchy. This is not just a bridge, but a small village with just 7 inhabitants. Founded in 1751, the village consists of a few houses, many of which are abandoned. The former primary school is closed, and for several years now the village has been turning into a ghost village. Only a high-priced tourist hotel, 2 hiking hostels and a guest house seem to be ensuring the village's survival. Shortly after Bridge of Orchy, we pass Loch Tulla. Not every lake in Scotland has to be large to impress with its beauty. Loch Tulla is about 2 miles long and less than a mile wide. It is a freshwater lake, fed by many streams. In the middle of the lake is an artificial, uninhabited island. No one knows exactly why it was created. We have a drone with us, but we often couldn't use it. We tried to launch it at Loch Tulla, but have to abort quickly due to strong winds. What a shame. We continue on to Rannoch Moor, which is characterized by wild landscapes on a plateau 1,000 feet above sea level. The moor is surrounded by many mountains up to more than 3,000 feet high. The moorland is completely unsuitable for agriculture and is therefore one of the last landscapes in Scotland that has hardly been touched by human hands. However, there are some Donald Duck comics in which the fictional MacDuck Castle is located in Rannoch Moor. We didn't find it. The moor is a good example of how intensively the Scottish landscape is used in films. In the 1996 British film Trainspotting, the drug-addicted protagonists of the plot travel to the countryside to go on a short hike in Rannoch Moor. In episode 1 of Outlander Season 1, Claire visits a stone circle in Rannoch Moor that transports her back to the year 1743. In the film Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, the Death Eaters board the train that passes through Rannoch Moor. Even Joseph Beuys shot a film here in 1970 together with a Scottish artist. Film buffs who want to know more should go to visitscotland.com. While Trainspotting and Joseph Beuys may not be familiar to everyone, many people remember this scene from the 2012 James Bond film Skyfall. We are now on our way to this very spot in Glen Etive. The dead-end road we are now traveling on for several miles leads us into the deep valley of Glen Etive. We are surrounded by moorland and high mountains. Despite the rain, the landscape is very impressive. We drive parallel to the river Etive. Like the entire Highlands, this valley was not always uninhabited. The MacIntyre clan once lived a little further south. The name Glen Etive is said to derive from a goddess and mean little ugly. We cannot confirm this at all. Nothing here is little or ugly. When planning our tour of Scotland, we naturally focused on famous places and sites. One absolute hotspot is the location from the 2012 James Bond film Skyfall, starring a great Daniel Craig and an impressive Judi Dench. The secret agent and his boss M briefly get out of the Aston Martin DB5 before continuing on to Bond's childhood home. Here, a showdown between Bond and the villain takes place, during which M unfortunately passes away. The family home was actually built in the south of England as a backdrop made of plaster and plywood. But the street with the iconic view is real. The exact location is easy to identify as many tourists park here to recreate the film scene with their cars. Unfortunately, we don't have our DB5 with us and simply drive on. Since we actually need to go in the other direction, we decide not to continue to Loch Etive, but to turn around at Glen Etive Bridge. Many other tourists have had the same idea, resulting in a sort of carbolet. We bravely join the choreography with our fully loaded GS. We want to experience the great panorama of Glen Coe, so we don't join the crowds of tourists at the side of the road. We leave the small single-track road in the Glen Etive Valley and turn onto the busy A82 towards Loch Leven. We wouldn't have believed it beforehand, but the panorama becomes even more impressive. Let's forget about the boring road and other road users for a moment. As soon as you set your eyes on the incredible landscape of Glen Coe, you realize once again how small you are in the face of these natural wonders. The picturesque Glen Coe Valley, nestled between rugged mountains, is certainly one of the most scenic regions of the Scottish Highlands. Surrounded by high peaks with Celtic names, Glen Coe is home to the unique fauna of the Highland moors, through which numerous small streams and the River Coe meander. Today's Glen Coe is the remnant of an ancient supervolcano, of which only the hard volcanic rock remains. The Highland Valley of Glen Coe was also the scene of Scotland's most famous mass murder. For many centuries, Glen Coe was the home to the MacDonald clan, who were loyal to the King of England in the 17th century. But the king was deposed and the new king demanded an oath of allegiance from the defeated MacDonalds. The clan complied, but 6 days too late. The new king sent troops into the valley, supposed with friendly intentions, where they were initially welcomed and entertained. Under pretext, on the morning of 13th February 1692, most of the MacDonalds were murdered in their sleep in what later became known as the Massacre of Glen Coe. Houses and huts were set on fire so that the winter completed the cruel work, and women and children died in the freezing cold. Since then, Glen Coe has been nicknamed the Valley of Tears. Round cairns made of broken stones are often found along the side of the path. These are burial monuments or markers of sacred sites from the Neolithic and Bronze Ages. In the west, where Glen Coe is located, you will find the visitor center, which tells you a lot about the history and geology of the valley. In addition to a shop and a cafe, there's also a petrol station here, not unimportant in this part of Scotland. Leaving Glen Coe, we now follow the road along the shore of Loch Leven. On the way to Inverness, we could have made it easy for ourselves, as it is possible to bypass Loch Leven. This would have saved us a few miles, but the narrow arm of seawater is considered one of the most beautiful lakes in Scotland. The lake is 10 miles long, but in some places only 100 yards wide. There are a few places on the lake, so you can glide on through the beautiful landscape in a relaxed manner. The weather is kind to us, and even the road surface is pleasant. Only slowly do we start to feel a little hungry. Our stomachs are rumbling, so it's perfect that the Loch Leven Seafood Cafe is located here. It is a restaurant with an adjoining fish shop, a cafe and a souvenir shop. The daily menu offers meat, fish and vegetarian options, as well as an extensive shellfish menu, which is available for both lunch and dinner. Of course, sandwiches and scones are also available. Passing Loch Leven, we now ride along the shore of Loch Lochy behind two fast bikers towards Fort Augustus and Loch Ness. Why are they riding so fast? Perhaps because of the beginning of the 20th century a sea monster was sighted at Loch Lochy. Lizzie, a close relative of the Loch Ness monster. Anyway, we will see the two again soon. The English, but also the Scots, have a penchant for unusual technical solutions. Here we cross the Lagan Swing Bridge over the Caledonian Canal, which connects the east and west coasts of Scotland. A swing bridge is a bridge structure that can rotate around a vertical axis. The movable part of the bridge, known as the swing bridge opening, swings sideways so that ships can pass through. Built in 1847, the bridge was electrified in 1932. Another rare sight in this part of Scotland, which is why many bikers immediately gather here. And here's the next swing bridge, the Everchalder swing bridge at Loch Oich. Did you know that Loch Oich is also home to a sea monster called wee Orchy? Okay, we'll spare you the rest. Do you remember the two bikers who recently rode off? Yes, hello, here they are again. They are taking a very long break here, not entirely of their own volition. One of them has a broken throttle cable and, well, it's Saturday afternoon somewhere in the Scottish countryside. We have a lot of tools with us, but of course we do not need a throttle cable on the GS, so we can only wish the two of them good luck as they arrange for the bike to be picked up. Having driven past so many monsters, big and small, we thought we were ready to take on the ultimate horror, Loch Ness. Since the Scots develop all attractions for tourism, we were somewhat surprised when we approached Fort Augustus on Loch Ness. At first, there was nothing going on here, and that on a Saturday. No merchandise, no crowds of children dressed up as Nessie hopping across the street. Strange. But then, surprise, surprise, we reach another swing bridge in the town center, the Fort Augustus swing bridge. We were able to observe how a swing bridge works. We waited patiently at the barrier even though we only wanted to go 50 meters to the left to a car park. After the barrier opened, we were greeted by the familiar sight. We had chosen the Boothie restaurant as a stopover during our planning. We weren't the only ones. Somehow, none of this had anything to do with Loch Ness, or maybe our expectations were simply wrong. In any case, according to our tour schedule, it would only be another 1.5 hours to our destination for the day in Inverness, where a delicious dinner awaited us. We decided against the tourist trap and opted to continue our journey. The map makes it look like a long drive, but that's misleading. The route runs almost entirely along Loch Ness, straight north to our destination for the day in Inverness. It's incredible how quickly the weather can change from dreary rain to beautiful sunshine. Suddenly all the colors seem vibrant again, and only the water on the road reminds us of the heavy rain that fell here just a few minutes ago. The vegetation to our left prevents us from seeing Loch Ness, but from Fort Augustus, Loch Ness stretches 22 miles northwards and ends 7 miles southwest of the coast near Inverness. Swimmers have crossed the lake lengthwise in under 11 hours. After Loch Lomond, which we drove past yesterday, Loch Ness is Scotland's second largest lake. It is located in the Great Glen, the large valley through which we are currently driving. There used to be many more trees here, but they were felled in the early 19th century to build the Caledonian Canal. The Caledonian Canal, which we have crossed several times now via swing bridges, connects the various lakes of the Great Glen. The canal was built as a link between the Atlantic coast and the North Sea coast to reduce transport times for industrial goods and avoid the storms on the sea in the north of Scotland. For the construction of the canal, the water level in Loch Ness was artificially raised by about 10 feet, which also increased the length and width of the lake. Unfortunately, our arrival in Inverness is accompanied by rain again. Oh well. Inverness is the start and end point of the North Coast 500, which will take us on a 516 miles journey along the coast of northern Scotland over the next few days. Wet but very satisfied, we arrive at our beautiful 4-star hotel, the Inverness Loch Tulla house, where spacious rooms and, above all, a hot shower await us. We can highly recommend the hotel and its friendly staff and have booked it again for our return journey. Unfortunately, we cannot show you any beautiful pictures of Inverness. The weather was too bad. As compensation, we had included drone footage provided to us by YouTube via a CC license. We have linked more information about Inverness for you in the top right hand corner. Enjoy some great shots of Inverness in the evening with us. If you enjoyed our video, we would appreciate a thumbs up. And if you don't want to miss the rest of our Scotland tour videos, simply subscribe to our channel. We look forward to showing you the 5th day of our trip soon.